morning, all of you. It's a cold morning, and all of you have come to participate in this event. Ambassador Fabian, Madam Jyotika Kalra, Rajesh Bovna, and Professor Mittal. Are you here? Yeah, Professor Mittal. I'm very happy that the Human Rights Defense International has organized this event. It's very timely, and it's very topical in the sense that these are issues which we also must debate in the country. And as you know, we live in a globalized world, and I see the slogan Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. So if anything happens anywhere in the world, we can see it in real time. So I think it's a matter of concern for people who feel strongly about such matters, and it hurts their conscience, and that's the kind of people HRTI is, and Madam Jyotika Kalra, who is the member of the Human Rights, being the Human Rights Commission. Also, we understand all about the human rights violations. Now, as a professional, I am basically a student of political science, which is what I did in Delhi University at Hindu College, and thereafter I did law, not only at the Campus Law Center, but in various institutions across the world, in Washington DC, etc. So I'm also an international lawyer. I'm vice president of the Indian Society of International Law. It's a specialization that I've done, and as a senior advocate, law is close to my heart, and particularly international law. Now, I would like to look at this whole issue from a somewhat political, historical perspective. Just to give you a background, because the issue is more politics than religion, and I will display that to you. I will establish that by giving you the historical background. You see, we look at it the way to analyze this whole thing is to see the pre-Shah period, then the Shah of Iran, and then what we have now is a authoritarianism of which is called the theocratic authoritarianism. Theocratic means religious authoritarianism. So we live in a democratic world. Authoritarianism is directly opposed to democracy. Democracy, as you know, is the people's will, for the people, of the will, people by the people. And authoritarianism is people who want to continue to be in power because they've already acquired that power rightfully, wrongfully, and they want to use their authoritarianism to perpetuate that power. Democracy is where anybody who is right, who has an ability to influence others, and who probably offers himself to be a manager of the society, and he is elected and he is chosen among us, any one of us who is capable of doing that. So prior to the Shah of Iran, it is a great country, Iran. Its origin lies in the Mesopotamian and the Sumerian civilization, and they were controlling a lot of parts of Central Asia. Mr. Patrick Clausen mentions, and it was called the Persian Empire in those days. At its height, Iranian rulers controlled Iraq, Afghanistan, Western Pakistan, much of Central Asia, and the Caucasus. Many Iranians today consider these areas as a part of greater Iran's sphere of influence. Now, these were it was a very large empire and great civilization. And if you know, the Parsi community in India are those who came from Iran, and the great community, the Parsi community, contributed immensely to Indian society. I think very few people can find a Parsi whom we find him a wrongdoer or something which is not something which we shouldn't be proud of. Now, given that background, the Shah of Iran, the Pahlavi dynasty, he ruled for about 40 years, and there was great amount of modernization that had come, and he had proximity to the Western powers, And modern, if some of you were to look at at that time there was no segregation. Men and young boys and girls went to schools and colleges together. They enjoyed life as much as anybody would of us would. They had a picnic was a great part of their life. It was a complete free country, and many of you would have seen images even in Afghanistan when it was a modernized nation. I'm just going to show to you that this is more political than religious, and how people and countries fall prey to a political agenda, and therefore that the nation gets destroyed. So thereafter what happened, there was a revolution, the Shah fled, he went to France, Paris, then America allowed him to be there for his hospitalization, etc. And this caused a great deal. The Ayatollah Khomeini, who was a clergy, he was and all the clergy, because you see the point is, at that time the revolution against monarchy came from a religious background. All of us know that even in Europe there was some time the church was very strong. Religion played a very important a role in the whole civilization in the world 100 years ago. So the clergy came and they seized power. The Ayatollah Khomeini came in, and there was the revolution, and the Shah fled. And they were all, the entire empire was dismantled, and the clergy took to power. But interestingly, I must tell you this, that in 1979, the same hijab ban was imposed, because when the clergy came back, they tried to use religion as a method of controlling the masses. And the women protested on 8th of March, on International Women's Day, against the ban of hijab in the year 1970, post-revolution, 79 or 80 perhaps. And therefore, the clergy started, after seizing power, tried to impose its will by using religion as a tool. This is what had happened. Thereafter, the Iran-Iraq war started. The hostage crisis, they went and seized the American embassy. So therefore, international conflict started, because the entire change of the scenario from a free country, from a relatively free country, I'm not saying that the Shah was not authoritarian, he also was authoritarian. I have a very important principle which I learned way back in my college days. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. Now what is the Hegelian dialectic? The Hegelian dialectic is that all history and civilization moves through idea, its thesis, its exactly opposite idea, antithesis, and an amalgam of the theses and antithesis is synthesis. So then synthesis becomes thesis, then it's exactly opposite. So there was a thought, the thought of freedom, then the thought of it's exactly, the conservatives came together, political power. This has happened, and even in fact Karl Marx uses the Hegelian dialectic to say all of history is an economic way of life which is finally reached this stage, and then you have a classless society, etc. The same Hegelian dialectic, but that's how it is. Now, given the situation, now what happened in Iran post the thing is, the clergy tried to impose great control over society. Their foreign relations went bad. The US and UK turned against after the hostage crisis. They went into a long 10-year war with Iraq, and it's a war-torn society where sanctions were imposed by the rest of the world. That's why we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one, a family. You can't live. If you see, the borders of Iran are 3 hours from here. If you were to travel by air at the end of 3 hours, you will be in Iran. That's how close it is. We don't realize it. Although Tehran is a bit far away, it's about 7.5 hours. But then that's how the thing is. And they have an influence. Today there is revolution closer to Iraqi borders, the Kurds, closer to Afghanistan. There is a lot of strife that is going on. The moment there is internal strife in any society, foreign powers try to enter the situation. So given that, now having come here, now what had happened in Mahsa Amini situation is that the whole rest of the world grew modern, it grew globalized. Of course, they probably allowed cell phones, they've seen how the world moves. And this lady was the hijab became the central controversy, and she was killed in police custody, and they used batons, and it was seen by everybody, and probably by social media, everybody came to know about that, and the women found it intolerable anymore. Because as it is right from the beginning. Now, I don't understand the logic of keeping women the manner in which they are. In today's world, of course, we had in our own India, we had a parda or the gunga, we also had it. It is there. In the Christian societies, they had a veil. Same thing. So therefore, it is important for world to modernize, be free of politics. Don't those who use that, because they say if we control the women and keep them suppressed, then we can control half the population of our society without doing anything, and carry on the power. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, that the authoritarianism is directly antithetical to democracy. In another 5 minutes, yeah, sure. Thank you for that 5 minutes, and it's going to be 5 minutes. I am seeing a clock there as well. Now, given the fact that this has happened, and it has taken a complete revolution right across the country. People burnt the hijab. They've just gone absolutely against the clergy rule, that authoritarian rule, and have today, it has become an international movement. There are, again, all over Europe, all over America, everywhere, every civilized society is doing what we are doing. We are protesting against the kind of treatment they're doing. They probably killed 5,000. The hospitals are in dismal, horrendous condition. It is in a state of war, complete conflict that is going on, and women's rights, which are central to any society, have been trampled, and they are suffering. Now, given this situation, I would like to of course, no doubt, our hearts go out to Mahsa Amini and all the other women who are being shot, who are being killed, and there's great human rights violations, and also segregation, and even education. They're trying to suppress that education. Now, in this background, what we see is a horrendous situation, and we need to speak about it. Although there were talk about the morality police being removed, etc., the Attorney General gave a statement and all that, but as the news comes, it's not the same. So in this background, I would just like to touch upon in 1 minute about our own hijab controversy. In Karnataka, there was a ban, and what the court held, and there was a Muslim judge sitting in that court, and many, perhaps Indian women also sympathized that the triple talaq or whatever, the maintenance matters, all of these which have been recent, that it is not essential religious practice. It is not an essential religious practice, the hijab. In India, Karnataka High Court held, it's an appeal, there was a Muslim judge sitting also. And therefore, it was held that during those war-torn times, women to protect themselves had the hijab. It is not central to a religious practice as such. So maybe some people came and argued it could be a cultural practice, etc. They said fine. But where institutions have a dress code, like a school, a secular institution, to bring it out in this fashion, reasonable restrictions can be imposed. And it is for the institution to decide what it wants to do. So we also have that. Now, to wind up, there have been great women. Malala Yousafzai, you must have heard, the Pakistani lady who was shot, who was a children's rights activist. And we remember her. Fortunately, she survived being shot. Then there was the Burmese Aung Suu Kyi, who similarly had fought against human rights violation. Great work done. Maya Angelou and Rosa Parks in the US. She fought against racism, black racism. These people we remember. I recently read that Salman Rushdie has released a book called Sack Full of Seeds, where women committed suicide after their husbands lost the battle. We remember such people who work. The UN Commission recently on the status of women has expelled Iran. So great, strides have been taken in the United Nations as well, and these women who inspire us. So Mahsa Amini belongs to the same category, and I'm sure she will inspire many women all over the world. And also, I must say that reformation of religion is a very important aspect. It is like we reform our anything, our technology, everything is a movement forward, and therefore religion must reform to be with the times, and interfaith coexistence has become very central post the globalization. I mean, we have Nilakshi here. Baha'i faith says all of us are all religions and everybody leads to the same God. Thank you very much for hearing me so nice.